Hey there, welcome back to another Friday weekly news recap here on Bald Prairie Real Estate, where I go through what I find is the most interesting news articles about the Canadian real estate market that I found that week. I'm Matthew Pfeifer, real estate agent in Regina. That's my trusted assistant, Matilda. This week I got a great article where they broke down the costs of home ownership in a number of different cities in Canada to find the cheapest city to own a house in Canada. Not the cheapest to purchase, the cheapest to own. So we'll get into that after one of these terrible bad dad jokes I like to start these videos off with. What do you call a zombie that doesn't like to joke around? Dead serious. If you have a terrible joke that I can use in a future episode, put it in the comments below. Let's get into the news. Okay, let's start off by talking about what's going on with mortgage interest rates because they've kind of been bouncing around a little bit here. This article, like all the articles, will be in the description below, and they're talking about what's going on with fixed rates specifically because the bond market has been heading up, which means that fixed rates will also go up with it. A couple of weeks ago, you could get interest rates on a 5-year fix for around 4.7%. Now we're seeing them trend back up to 5%. And that 3-year fixed rate, which kind of was the sweet spot for the last couple of months because somebody could lock into these rates that were seemingly more affordable than they have been, and then see what's happening in a couple of years and whether they want to go back to a variable or renew on a fixed rate. Well, that sweet spot is kind of disappearing because those have started to increase as well. So again, always shop around, see what you can get for different interest rates, but fixed rates are on the way up right now. You guys are probably going to be getting tired of me beating a dead horse on this topic, but it's something I think is very important. And again, we're talking about Canada's foreign buyer ban and some of the unintended consequences. This article here is talking about a developer that had planned to build about 1,000 properties across Toronto and can't now because they have foreign investment, foreign ownership. In this case, European investment and ownership, and the foreign buyer ban prevents anybody or any company that has at least 3% or more foreign ownership from buying residential property, but also residential land. So any of these developers in Canada, there are many of them that have foreign ownership, even if it's just a minority stake, they can no longer purchase land to build developments on anymore in Canada. So we've seen this both in the new construction side for ownership, and we're also seeing it in the rental side where these companies just cannot operate anymore in Canada because they're not allowed to buy the land without, of course, now facing the wrath of the foreign buyer ban. So again, this was a policy that was put in place so that it looked like the federal government was doing something, but they really didn't take a lot of time to go through and see what was the unintended consequences. In fact, in their own documentation, they said they didn't study the impacts on the market. And I think we're starting to see some of the unintended negative consequences of the market, and that's going to be fewer homes being built in Canada. And here we are with another, I'll call it pretty negative news article here. It seems like that's all I've got this week is bad news, but this is something where just go on Google, type in property tax increases Canada, and you're going to find a slew of articles where municipal governments across the country are raising property taxes at exceptionally high levels, like 5, 10, 15%, in some cases more. And I actually had a viewer reach out to me, send me an email just showing how much property taxes are going up on some of their properties, whether it's a prime residence or they have a couple investment properties, and it is significant. Now remember, these are the same city councils that preach about how we need affordable housing in Canada that are now raising these property taxes significantly, and the same city councils that stifle development in Canada, make it harder to build houses in Canada with red tape and more expensive with taxes and fees. If you wonder why Canadian real estate is so expensive, the government themselves is one of the major problems in Canada. Again, stifling development and the taxes and fees that are added on to developers, or just the process of buying a house, whether it's land transfer taxes or any other fees that governments add on to the buying process. That's a huge part of what's making buying a house and owning a house in Canada really expensive. Quick little break here. If you like this video, please give this video a like, subscribe to Bald Prairie Real Estate if you haven't already, and leave comments below because I love chatting with you guys in the comments section. And here's another article from a viewer, which, by the way, if you come across an interesting article that you want me to talk about or you think that should be featured in a weekly news recap, email it to me. I'll put my email contact in the description below, and I love going through that and then talking about that in these weekly news recaps. So this here is out of the Toronto Star, and they're talking about a family that felt because the uncertainty in the rental market and the rental situation that they were kind of forced into buying. They weren't really planning on buying a house. Now, the uncertainty they're talking about is, of course, how fast rent has increased, but also the uncertainty of whether that home is going to be their home in the future. Their landlord may choose to sell the property or not renew their lease. And that, of course, probably isn't great for a family where you're trying to make something your home and all of a sudden it might not be your home anymore. And this kind of goes down to that housing crisis that I feel we have in Canada that no level of government is really willing to address. They're going to say they're addressing it, but they're not doing anything about it, whether it's getting more rentals built or more houses built for people that want to buy. We have a housing crisis in Canada. We have a shortage of houses, and that's what's creating so many of these problems that we have, whether it's blind bidding, skyrocketing rental rates, just name your problem. That's the root cause, the lack of housing in Canada. And remember, these are the same governments that sure want their fair share of your money when it comes to whether it's buying or renting or the real estate market in general. They're getting their fair cut out of that and then talking about how we need to have housing more affordable while taking massive fees at the same time. And here we are to the headline article. That's what you came for. Sorry for making you wait so long. I gotta talk about the other fun stuff and make you wait for these headline articles. This here is put together by Point Two Homes, and they're looking at basically the first year cost, upfront cost of home ownership in Canada and what cities were the least expensive to put a down payment and then those initial costs, insurance, legal fees, etc. So I'm gonna list these off and gotta reference the notes again here because I'll make a mistake. But first place was Saguenay, Quebec. $74,000 was that down payment plus the first year cost of ownership. Trois-Rivières was number 2, $79,000. Number 3, Quebec City at $84,000. And I got to put the honorable mention for my hometown, Regina, Saskatchewan, which was 4th place at $88,000. Again, they're assuming that this is a 20% down payment and buying the benchmark price house in Canada. So of course, lower house prices that we see in all of these centers is playing a huge factor in that, but also lower legal fees or property taxes, etc., is what played into their ranking here. Interestingly enough, another notable or a couple other notable cities here, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Saskatoon all were in the top 10. When it comes to affordable housing in Canada and the cost of home ownership, the Prairies in Quebec and throw in the Maritimes, that's the places in Canada where you're going to find the most affordable housing in Canada. Which, by the way, if you are thinking about buying a house in Canada and you don't have a real estate agent, I'd love to help you out with that. I know a fantastic real estate agent in your market. I promise you that. I've got a great network of agents. If you look in the description of this video, there's going to be a link to my calendar where you can book me in for a buyer's appointment. I'll give you a call, figure out what's important to you and what's important to find in an agent, and then I'm going to get you set up with the right agent in your market. So that link is in the description below as well. And after you're done booking me in for that buyer's consult, we're going to chat about what's the right house for you and what's important to a real estate agent. Check out this video here. That's the next video that the YouTube algorithm says you need to watch next on Bald Prairie Real Estate. As always, guys, thanks very much for watching.